My name is Cam. I'm a white guy with long black hair, like Alex, a goth, and I'm talking about special relativity in video games. I'm going to split this talk in two parts. The first part is going to be on special relativity, and later on we'll come back to games. So I don't really know the room that well. I don't know how much knowledge you have on special relativity. I'm going to give you the world's quickest primer on this very complex topic so that we can all understand what's going on later. So the first thing I want to talk about is the postulates of special relativity. These are basically just the rules that define what special relativity is. So the first rule of special relativity is that the laws of physics are identical for all inertial reference frames, which is a big lot of words for saying that you and I agree on the same physics. They don't change just because you're over there or just because someone's on Mars. It's all the same for all of us. The second rule of special relativity is that the speed of light in a vacuum is the same for all observers. This is the really important one, and this is the one that's going to give us all the complex effects, and this is the one that I will dive into a little bit more and explain why it's so important. And the third one is don't talk about Fight Club. So, the reason why that second rule is so important is because I want you to imagine a situation that we've all been in before, where you are stood completely still, and your friend is sort of floating past you at some constant speed, and as they float past you, they emit from themselves a photon of light. And you take out your photon measuring device, and you measure the speed of that photon, and you measure it moving at some speed, the speed of light. They take out their photon measuring device, and they measure it moving at the same speed of light. This is weird. If that friend was moving along as they floated by, and they threw a tennis ball instead of throwing a photon, you would measure it at moving at the speed of the tennis ball plus the speed of them. And they would measure it as moving at just the speed of the tennis ball, because they are moving with it. The speed of light does not speed up or slow down for other people, whereas other things do. The way that we compensate for this weirdness is with the first law, the fact that the laws of physics are the same for me as they are for my friend floating by. We know that speed is distance divided by time. This is the only equation, I promise. Distance divided by time. Our speed has to stay the same, but our distance and our time can change. So for me, standing still, I might see that my friend has squished, and the photon that they've emitted has also squished, and the distance that's traveled is less, and therefore the speed of light's balanced. For my friend, they might pull out their clock, and they might measure that the time that they have seen is less than the time that I have seen, which means that for the same distance that's traveled, the photon has done that in less time, and therefore the speeds are balanced. Just one quick little thing is that this squish is not a simple just getting smaller, because we are not individual points. We are sort of three-dimensional objects, and the parts of us that are further away, we measure as squishing different amounts than the parts that are closer to us. So this visual is showing two ones, the measured contraction and the visual appearance. The measured contraction is showing this cube sort of evenly squishing down into a sort of very small size as it goes faster towards the speed of light. But what you would actually be seeing if you could see this cube going past you was that it wouldn't just squish, it would also rotate and sort of bend a little bit in the direction of motion. Now, I highlight this because this will come up later, and you'll be seeing things, you'll be wondering, well, why is it not just flattened? There are other effects on special relativity that I'm not going to dive into as much detail because I don't have a lot of time, but I will highlight them quickly, and that is relativistic aberration. So that doesn't necessarily just happen with special relativity, but special relativity makes it happen more, so it's worth talking about. That is when you have a light bulb, say, now floating past you. When it's still, the light is emitting from all directions evenly, but as it goes past you, the light would almost bend towards the direction that the light is moving in. And when you are moving, the light coming towards you is almost bending in the direction that you're moving in, and it gives this sort of fisheye-like appearance to the world, and it has this effect called a headlight effect, where it's as if someone is shining a headlight directly in your face, because all of the light in the universe is now coming right at you, instead of coming from all around. The other effect is Doppler shift, and you will actually be familiar with this with sound. when, say, a car goes past you, the sound it makes will become higher pitched, and as it goes away from you, the sound will become lower pitched. The same is true for light when you are moving near the speed of light, or when something is moving near the speed of light and emitting light. As the light comes towards you, it is becoming more blue, because blue is a higher frequency, and as it's going away from you, light is becoming more red, because red is a lower frequency. So that, you are now all experts in special relativity. It's time for games. This isn't a game. This is a piece of educational resource, essentially, that was created by these Australian lecturers who had their undergraduate physics students learning special relativity for the first time, and they were given diagrams that probably looked about as bad as mine did, and they said to the lecturers, please, can we have something that lets us understand what's going on, because I just don't get it. So the lecturer said, fine, we're not making a game, but we will make a virtual interactive environment for you to experience special relativity in. So what they did was they put together this just sort of playground, essentially. There's no gameplay or anything, but you as the, not player, but user, can move around at close to the speed of light, and you get to experience what it's like moving at these very high speeds. So there's two pictures here. The first one shows a sort of slice from this world when the user is standing completely still. So you can see there's sort of these rows of straight columns ahead of them, and then in the far distance there is a planet that seems to be orbiting wherever it is there are. There's also the Earth in front of them, not relevant. And then in the second picture, the user is now moving much closer towards the speed of light, and their field of view has widened. The planet appears to be much further away than it was, but actually they're moving towards it, so it's closer. These columns that were once straight are now being warped. This is by the aberration effect, because like I said, the fisheye, and then in the corner, there are these cubes that when you were still, they would look like flat cubes, but as you're going past them at the speed of light, you can actually see ahead of them. You can see parts of the cube that you shouldn't normally be able to see. And then the image on the right is showing what is a completely green cylinder, but the player is moving past it at near the speed of light, so the side that they're moving away from has become red, and the side that they're moving towards is becoming even bluer. This was, as far as I can tell, the first time someone did a special relativity simulation that you can move around in. But it's extremely limited. It's, like I say, it's not a game. It's genuinely not a game. The way that they've done this is they've taken an environment map. This is graphics. I don't know graphics, but this is what they said they did. They took an environment map of the world, and they used the cube map they got from that, and they apply the physics of special relativity to each and every pixel on that cube map, and then they put that onto the camera so that they can create these quite accurate and quite fast effects, which means you can run around it in real time. But what it means is that the world is completely static. You are the only thing that moves. Nothing else can move in there. And nothing else can be interacted with. There's no collisions. There's nothing that would make game. So a few years later, a few people from MIT stepped up and said, let's make something that can make games. And they created something called the Open Relativity Project. The explicit goal was games in special relativity. So they did this in the Unity engine. They, instead of taking a picture of the whole world and applying effects to that, they apply a shader to each and every object in the world, and that allows them to individually move them around, and that means they can move. They don't have to be fixed in place. So this picture there is from sort of their test ground from the project. There's a sort of large textured sphere in the background that's shifting through a rainbow of colors as the player now is moving to the right of the screen. There's a sort of long row of cubes stretching towards the sphere. The ones on the left, they all say IR on them. That is their way of representing infrared light, because one thing about Doppler shift is that you're going fast enough, you're going far enough, you can't see these things anymore because they've left our visible spectrum. And the other side, you've got UV for ultraviolet. You're going so fast, you're going so close, these things have again left our visible spectrum because the frequency is now too high for us to see. And this is how they represent it, at least in their test ground. And they made a game with it. The game is called The Slower Speed of Light. It is available online for free. It's accessible on that website. If you just type into Google, A Slower Speed of Light, it is the first thing that comes up. It's not much of a game, to be honest with you. But there's this alien landscape that you can float around in, and there are these orbs that you can collect. And every time you collect an orb, the speed of light slows down ever so slightly until it is matching the speed that you are moving at. And it's not in these screenshots, but there are little aliens that live in this village that sort of move between hut to show that things can move in this world. So this is much improved over the previous example, but it's still very, very limited. And the main limitation, which I'm about to put up on the slide, and it's a very big wall of text, and I'm sorry, is that all of the things in the world must either be completely static or move at a constant velocity. And the reason why they explain that they have to do it this way is because they don't remember where things are. And this is usually not very important for the physics engine of a normal game, but when you are going at the speed of light, where a thing is right now doesn't matter. Where it was a few seconds ago does, because light takes time to reach that object. You are seeing me ever so slightly in the past, because light is taking time to reach your eyes. People at the back, I'm sorry, I'm even further in the past. But when you're moving this fast, it matters. So they have to have things that they have on predictable trajectories. They've kept it to just constant velocity for the sake of performance, but you could do it with other predictable trajectories, but you can't have things moving freely unless you remember where that thing has been since the very start of the game, which is what this paper does. They propose a method for, essentially, you just keep a long list of every position, every object in your game world has been, and then you can look at where the player is, and you can know what the speed of light is, and you can say, if this object is here, and the speed of light is this, you just look back in the object's past, and you go, it would appear to be here for the player. And then they can render that in the past, and it can look much more accurate, and objects can move freely. This paper does a lot more than just that. It's a very long paper. It is the first time that they've introduced more accurate descriptions of acceleration. It's the first time to explain how to do proper collision detection. It's a huge step forward in making special relativity games, relativity for games. And they, along with this, they did release a project that's more just a demo of what it can do. So the top two images are showing, again, the idea of the player moving towards the speed of light. The first one is the player being still. This is set in space now, and there's just grid lines throughout the space just to show that things can warp. And in the second image, they're moving much closer to the speed of light. The grids are being warped as we're all experts in, and the distant galaxy has become blue because they are moving towards it. And the bottom image there, it might be a little bit hard to see, that's a still image of a cartoon woman shooting bullets at the player, and the player is shooting them back. I don't understand that one either, but it's in there. So that is sort of every paper on special relativity video games. Congrats, we've done it. We've explored all of the research so far. So what comes next? Well, one, make some games. There's, game designers in the room. The tools are out there. Games be made. But it's still very limited. I said, this paper has collision detection. Isn't that exciting? And you're all used to Unity and Unreal, where that's sort of par for the course. There is more work to be done in getting this much more usable for designers. And one possible avenue of that is ray tracing. So this is not games. This is not games research. This is pure physics. I'm sorry, I'm bringing it here. But this is visualizing special relativity using ray tracing. The physics of special relativity, the equations that we use, describe the behavior of rays of light. And ray tracing is simulating the behavior of rays of light. If you use ray tracing, as opposed to the methods that have been used in those games papers, you can get much more accurate and correct simulations of special relativity without having to mess with all of the other physicsy engine parts of a game. You just need to completely rewrite a ray tracing engine, which is why no one has done that yet. And that sad note is the end of my talk.